Most people missed this and the news media didn't even cover it. But given the ominous nature of what this man is predicting, it behooves us all to sit up and take notice.
The main threat to the security and prosperity of the West generally, and the UK specifically now, is civil war, not external war.
Okay, that got my attention. Professor David Betts, who has advised both the UK and US governments, explains the primary factor in fostering conditions for mass unrest in the UK.
Multiculturalism was a disaster for the country, that it was leading to a society that was ghettoized.
And that thanks to open borders, the state is destroying its own legitimacy.
The major problem of government is this destruction of legitimacy.
In addition to the grooming gang outrage.
More importantly, and much more corrosively, are the industrial rape gang revelations, which are ongoing, that have had the effect, which will increase and become even more apparent, of draining out whatever residual social capital existed.
Which has strong historical parallels.
There's even echoes, I think. I mean, I'm surprised that we don't hear a lot more about the Boudicca revolt.
Can I spell it out for non-British listeners? That
Sure.
Boudicca's daughters were raped by Roman soldiers. And this was the precipitating event.
From his exhaustive studies, Betts concludes that diversity is definitively not our greatest strength.
British society is fundamentally explosively configured. Multiculturalism has drained the nation's social capital. It's encouraged factionalism and polarization, both of which are up massively. As a result of which, we see that nativist sentiments are increasingly manifested in a narrative of downgrading or displacement that is one of the most powerful causes of civil conflict. Mm-hmm. The recent headlines surrounding the rape gangs or the murders of children, terrorism, and the like feed this narrative of downgrading absolutely perfectly. They align with that idea,
and could actually be the catalyst for our downfall.
Primarily, the one in the which is most evident now on account of recent events, is the failure to secure the country, the failure to secure its borders against what can only be described as a large-scale border raid, and the failure to protect children, the most vulnerable people in our society, from the most extraordinary and grotesque predation on very large scale.
Leading to a form of civil war based on geographical and demographic divides.
The coming civil war that I imagine will have initially the qualities of a Latin American dirty war, but that is going to metastasize pretty rapidly into a broader civil conflict that will have an essential rural versus urban dimension. And that relates essentially to demographic patterns in the broader society.
And that British identity has been drastically undermined by 2 generations of indoctrination telling us to be ashamed of our history.
It's a much more fractured society. It's one that has a much less secure connection to those aspects of its history that have made it the stable, well-governed, essentially more or less content society that it has been.
Soaring taxes, inflation, and general economic malaise is also fueling mass resentment.
On top of that, the increasingly predatory wealth extraction policies that have to come in because they're simply running out of money.
And that the potential civil war he's warning of in order to try to avoid could happen within half a decade.
If we can make it through the next 5 years without it happening, that would be a good sign. I think the rupture is going to come before then on current trajectory.
Professor Betts is by no means some random crank. He's a top UK government advisor, having worked with the UK Ministry of Defence, GCHQ, and the US Defence Department, and he's an expert in the field of modern warfare. He's perhaps the most authoritative and credible person that could possibly sound this alarm bell, which makes it all the more worrying. Now let's talk about the insane health benefits of cocoa flavanols. The compounds found in cocoa that boost nitric oxide, improve heart health, and regenerate brain cells. And before you roll your eyes like you just flipped through the heavily redacted Epstein files, this isn't some woo-woo nonsense. Check out what Harvard scientist Dr. William Lee said.
Studies have been done to show that the flavanols in cocoa stimulate stem cells to come out of your bone marrow like bees in a beehive in your bloodstream, and they go out and they find wherever it needs to be repaired. If it's in your heart, they'll fix it. If it's in your liver, they'll fix it. If it's in your skin, they'll fix it. And so we can eat foods like high flavanol cocoa in order to be able to actually get the stem cells to work a little bit better. Now, how do we know this actually functions, it works in people? Well, clinical studies have been done with high flavanol cocoa to show that in like men who are in their 60s with heart disease, they could actually just have 2 cups of dark chocolate hot cocoa a day for a month.
Yeah.
And they doubled the amount of stem cells in their bloodstream, and their circulation improved measurably.
Black Forest Supplements have created the first ever high flavanol cocoa powder, packed with everything your body actually needs. And it's only 20 calories. Mix it with your coffee or protein shake and it tastes amazing. This stuff can boost your body's natural stem cell production. Hollywood elites drop 50 grand on placenta stem cell injections, but you can just drink cocoa powder and get the same benefits without selling your soul for it. I've worked out an exclusive offer with my guy at Black Forest Supplements to hook you up with 40% off for the next 48 hours, but this stuff always sells out, so don't wait. Buy 2, get 1 free. Just hit the link in the pinned comment or description to stock up before it's gone.
Society has gone off the rails. Most people believe that politics has ceased to be able to solve problems.
Betts describes himself as a classic member of the establishment and said he's been approached by people from within government and the security services who are keen to heed his warning.
Having written the paper, I've had other people approach me, including people from government and in the security services, about the ideas. Well, we'll see what happens after the podcast, which will have a somewhat bigger reach, I would guess. They've all come back to ask for more detail, but they're certainly not rejecting outright.
Will enough of them listen to do anything? Or, as Betts suggests during the podcast, are we too far gone?
Lorraine Matthews, one of the last non-Muslim residents, said, "I wouldn't go out at night on my own, as it is dangerous if you're not from the Muslim community. It isn't sensible for a woman to walk there after dark. The Asian lads gather on the corners. They make you feel intimidated because they don't respect white women."
New sentencing guidelines just dropped suggesting ethnic minorities could receive lighter punishments for the same crimes as British natives. The official enshrinement of a 2-tier justice system.
You've got the 2-tier justice system, a highly politicized judiciary, increasingly partisan and frankly incompetent police service.
Basic law and order feels like it's evaporating.
Stop!
Meanwhile, you're seeing increased desperation from the state broadcaster, the BBC, which has launched wall-to-wall saturation coverage of the supposed benefits and inevitability of mass migration, even as polls show an ever-growing amount of the population are vehemently resistant to it. At current rates, in 10 years, 25% of Britain's population will be first-generation migrants, and a full third of the population will be first- or second-generation migrants by 2035. By 2046, we'll have to build 15 cities the size of Birmingham to accommodate them all, which of course won't happen, leading to the collapse of public services, leading to more unrest. A perfect storm is unfortunately brewing.
Is it the fact that our pride and joy in the NHS has fallen apart? You can't get a doctor's appointment. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I'm supposed to be seeing a nurse every 3 to 6 months. I haven't seen one in like 2 years. Young people can't afford to get on the property ladder anymore, and social housing is being used up by illegal immigrants. Taxes have got so high that even when you work your ass off, you still feel poor. There's so many reasons why this country is falling apart, and there are so many reasons why civil unrest could be a lot closer than we think.
But it doesn't have to be this way. Look at Sweden, the last country on earth you'd expect to be setting the example. They're now deporting more migrants than they import. And look at Denmark, after imposing strict immigration controls to prevent the growth of parallel societies, leading to the demolition of migrant ghettos, and a law which said areas of the country must not have a non-Western population over 30%. Denmark has literally already reversed mass immigration. Denmark's population aged 0 to 19 is more Danish than the total population, and 0 to 4 even more so. If you include European immigrants, Denmark's babies are currently 85.9% Danish and 89.7% European. If 2 uber socially progressive Scandinavian countries can do it, Why can't we? Not to be overly doomer, but many are saying that the 2029 election is our last chance, if we can even make it to that point.
I really do not want this to occur, but I also can't look away, or I can't not see what I see.
If you value what I do and you want to help support me, please visit pauljosephwatson.locals.com and either pledge a one-time donation or subscribe to join my community, get early access videos, and message me directly. And exclusive live streams coming soon too. Promise. Check out the Locals link down in the description. And don't forget to take a look at the brand new website, modernity.news. That's where you'll find all my content, including exclusive articles. That's modernity.news.